Day 6 of Ravens training camp is in the books, and this was a huge day for the wide receivers. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. My name is Sutton Def, your host, and here's another reigning Ravens report. Let's just dive right into it. Rookie Ravens receiver Jacobe Lane had his best day of camp so far. Just take a look at this back shoulder but inside hand catch from Jacobe Lane with Nate Wiggins in coverage. Absolutely filthy. I think for obvious reasons, number 4, Zay Flowers did not practice today, and that created more opportunities for rookies like Jacobe Lane to step up and really make a name for themselves. And boy, did he take advantage. Let it be known that Jacobe Lane is not a one-hit highlight wonder. And while I do understand that this is training camp and we have not seen him in a game yet, the pads are on. So if there's any litmus test that you're going to get in terms of who's going to be this wide receiver 3 on this team, you're kind of getting your answers right now. And I understand even a few highlights may not necessarily win him the starting job right away, maybe over a Devontae Walker. But you would be foolish to think that these Ravens coaches aren't looking at Jacobe Lane and how he's winning these reps and thinking that they can't or should not get him into the games. He's using all of his catch radius. He's finishing catches outside of his frame. He's making contested catches, and he's giving Lamar a larger target downfield, much like what he had in Isaiah Likely in years past.
Oh yeah, that's yeah, dog, man. Just glad to have just a big receiver on the outside. We can go get the ball, jump passes, contested passes, and he can move, come in and out of breaks.
The Ravens have spent years looking for a wide receiver who can win on some of those type of throws. So while Zay Flowers creates separation with speed and quickness, Rashad Bateman is a more polished route runner who can beat you on all 3 levels. But Jacobe Lane is a 6'4" X wide receiver who can play above the rim, and the Ravens have not had that in a very long time. Lamar Jackson has described Jacobe Lane himself as long arms and a very physical wide receiver who's great at the catch point. And Ravens head coach Jesse Minter even talked about how it's clear and obvious that Jacobe Lane is earning Lamar Jackson's trust.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, we talked a little bit about yesterday with the guys, just like being able to bounce back and, you know, like a second and long turns into a third and long. And then somebody has to make a play. And sometimes just keeping your head down, going to the next play, making a play can change the momentum. And so that was a great play by Jacobe. He's continued to flash and make those type of plays as anybody. You know, you're always searching for consistency and down after down. But again, talked about it, like the more he shows Lamar that he's making those types of plays, the more trust they build. And that's really what training camp and what practice is all about.
Now, I've said on previous podcasts, it was only going to take a couple of plays like we just looked at before until Lamar Jackson finally clicks that light bulb in his head and says, hey, look, this is my guy. Lamar also did add an important reminder, though. While this is actually all great and fine and dandy that Jacobe Lane is making these big plays in training camp, it's a lot different doing it in a game. So there is still more to see when it comes to Jacobe Lane, but what we've seen so far, extremely promising. If Jacobe Lane can become a more complete offensive player by doing things like being able to beat press coverage and then also being able to block on the perimeter for some of these run plays, especially the ones that are coming, and then also to be able to block on the perimeter for some of these outside zone runs that you're going to see featured in this Dwayne Ledford run game. But the good news is he's doing what a rookie should do at this point, and we can't be mad about it. Can only be happy about it. Like the video if you're happy about Jacobe Lane, because I am. I'm pumped. I would also like to take a moment to mention that Jacobe Lane cooked Marlon Humphrey in practice today, had him slip in his one-on-one. And to be honest with you, man, I'm pretty scared for Marlon Humphrey because I'm hearing about everybody else on the defense making plays except for Marlon. It's starting to feel like he is unfortunately free eats, but I'm hoping he can bounce back. Anyways, sticking with the defense, the Ravens defense actually had a very impressive showing today in their own right, creating multiple turnovers. According to my report here, Marquise Robinson, David Olajiga, Amani Oruwariye, and Nate Wiggins all had interceptions on the day. Lamar Jackson and Skylar Thompson had 2 picks each. 2025 draftee Robert Longerbeam also forced a fumble today, so the defense was really humming. The offense looked great, but the defense was doing well too, which is exactly what you want at this point in training camp. You don't want one side of the ball dominating the other consistently. I also want to give a shout out to the 2026 draftee Chandler Rivers, the cornerback, he also had himself a good day. He won both of his one-on-one reps, and he continues to show why the Ravens drafted him. Chandler Rivers, however, did allow a long catch to rookie wide receiver Elijah Surratt at the end of practice, which again, I can't be mad at that. I want to give a shout out to Tez Walker, who had a deep touchdown today from Tyler Huntley. So don't go counting out Tez Walker yet for that wide receiver 3 role. Me personally, I think it's a great problem to have Jacobe Lane competing with Tez Walker for that wide receiver 3 role. In some quick offensive line news, there is no clear winner or front runner for the center position yet as the starter. However, you did have 14th overall pick Vinga Ioane really flashing today, putting 2 guys on their butt in one play. Another thing I want to bring up is Nate Wiggins actually had himself an injury scare at day 6 of Ravens camp. It was in a 7-on-7 drill that Nate Wiggins collided with safety Jalen Hawkins and apparently knocked the wind out of Nate Wiggins. Reports say he laid on the ground for a little while and then he was taken off of the field. But like I said, he just got the wind knocked out of him. He actually came back to practice and competed in the 11-on-11 period. Anyways, my final and biggest takeaways from practice are that Jacobe Lane is quickly emerging himself as wide receiver 3 on this team. There seems to be a lot of parity between the offense and the defense, which is a great sign going into preseason here soon. And of course, Zay Flowers is now a top 5 paid wide receiver in the league. More information about that on our channel, but I do want you to drop down below in the comments what you thought about day 6 of Ravens training camp. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the content. Thank you for coming through to another Reigning Ravens report. I'm your host Sutton Def, and we'll catch you guys in the next video. May purple reign.